consequently my actions. People dislike me because I'm not completely like them. And in what way are you different?
All right, welcome. Hey, first I want to thank the Paradox Twin, Danny, from a musical group, an actual musical group called the Paradox Twin, who wrote that intro song, especially for this channel, for the Non-Sequitur Show, quite some time ago. He wrote me 2 songs, and that was one of them. And so I saved that until I needed it for, special occasion. And so I've been using it for After Dark. This is the second episode of After Dark. The first one was on aliens and UFOs that I did with Nikki 38. I was going to do this tonight with someone, but they got busy, and so it happens. Unfortunately, I still want to do it tonight. This is a great topic. I really have an interest in this particular topic. Before we get started, I tested this out. Everything seemed to be fine, although I have a little different layout than my test. Please let me know if you can hear me. The audio's okay. I'm not going to be playing any videos or anything like that. Just me. But I did ask a few people if they wanted to come in for later co-host. I got an extra slot right there. Yeah, that intro song is amazing. And like I said, that was specifically written for Non-Sequitur Show. But like I said, if somebody wants to come in and talk about it, I don't mind if you're an atheist or theist for this particular topic. I kind of want a theist because I want to get their view on it. Because obviously, as a non-believer, I'm going to be taking the non-believer position on it. But I want to kind of hear both sides, right? So what we're going to be talking about tonight is basically what's been going on in Utah. And this was a open letter to, let me do that real quick. This was an open letter to Christian nationalists. That's what he titled it. Open letter to Christian nationalists in response to recent bill seeking a ban to satanic expression. And it was by Lucien Greaves, who's the president and founder of the Satanic Temple. He's been on the show before. Really amazingly interesting guy, to say the least. I mean, he's probably one of my all-time favorite guests. He had so much to say and so well read on the Constitution and politics and secularism. I mean, I don't think there's anybody better out there to talk about secularism. So this particular bill that, and again, that's my only image here. I'm not going to be showing much. Just me drinking coffee, talking about this. Wonder if we should be going Ave Satanas or Praise Jesus. Take your pick. I'm telling you right now that I'm on the pro satanic side here, Ave Satanas, and I'll explain why. But what they were trying to do in Utah, there's a bill in front of them called HB 0514. And what is for is that they want to put chaplains in public schools. Basically, they want to have a volunteer chaplain that has been vetted, whatever that means, that they're certified to be a chaplain, and put them in public charter schools to have available to the students. Now, let me just bring my view on this first before I even read Lucien's letter, because his letter is very, very good. I was in the military, so I understand what chaplains are for. And I watched some of the deliberations on this particular House bill, and they're trying to word it as it's something along the lines of a military chaplain. I don't think that's not just wrong. I think it's dishonestly wrong. The reason being is, in the military, you're putting your life on the line for your country. This is, put it straight out there, that when you sign up for the military, there's a chance you might die. This is in any branch, that you might go to war. This going in. You're volunteering to service for your country, where you could be killed, seriously injured, or all kinds of things. When I joined the Navy, I was well aware of this. Now, granted, I didn't think I would be having to go in war areas, but that's what happened. After I graduated nuclear power school, I went straight to Desert Shield, and then one tour back there and 2 tours in Desert Storm. And even though we didn't see any actual firefighting combat per se, we were definitely in the midst of it. There were enemy aircraft in the area. We did put phalanx system on full auto, and if they came within 2 miles of us, they would have been shot down, because our job as a guided missile cruiser was to shoot down any missile that it was put the carrier group in jeopardy. And if we couldn't shoot it down, and I'm not even joking here, our job was to intercept the missile. And I mean intercept physically. We would rather have the missile attack us and hit us than it would be the whatever whatever carrier we were escorting at the time, which was in our group was a Carl Vinson group. But that going in. And so chaplains are there to provide spiritual guidance and just psychological support for the military personnel. There's no need for a chaplain in a school system when you're not in a state of you're putting your life on the line, or even if not, you're still dedicating your life for a substantial period of time. I mean, I was in for 6 years. In those 6 years, my life was not my own. I was told when I could eat, when I could sleep, when I could take a dump. I mean, pretty much you're their property for 6 years. Now, granted, you get some time off, don't get me wrong. But I mean, until you even make some rank, you are a nobody. I would say until you probably make E4, which is when you get your first chevron, you're just a pissant. And then even E5, that's kind of like the average. Then when you make E6, you start getting a little more benefits. But I was only E6 for 6 months and never got paid for it. I was only frocked it. So I was never officially got to be paid for an E6, only wear it. So, but I still got the benefits, which was nice. But be that as may, the school system has no need for a chaplain. To me, it is entirely them trying to put religion in school, which is clear a violation of separation of church and state. They already have what are called guidance counselors. They already have counselors. They can have psychiatrists, they have psychologists. They can have people that do not have any religious affiliation whatsoever in order to help children. I am absolutely just fine with that. Matter of fact, I think it should be mandated. I think that each school needs a professional counselor. They only seem to bring them in when there's something like a tragedy that's befallen the school, and they have a guy, what do they call it, a grief counselor come in. But I think there should be someone there at all times. Kids need to talk to people. Kids go through a lot of stuff. I didn't have that in my high school. I don't. I remember having a guidance counselor, but their main job was basically, basically tell you, here are your options. Do you want to become this, or that kind of stuff? But they really didn't help you. None of them prepared anybody for college, not at all. But to try to claim this in the form of a chaplain, I think is very dishonest. And so, what Lucien Greaves and the Satanic Temple pointed out, rightly so, is that if you allow any religion in school, whether it be prayer in school, after class, Bible studies, which I'm not against. I'm really not. After class activities, if you want to go read the Bible with a bunch of kids, I don't have a problem with that. I probably would have done that when I was a theist in high school. If it gives them an outlet and it's not something that's mandated, yeah, I don't care. I really don't. I don't consider that to be a violation of separation of church and state, because they're not promoting a certain thing. They're just allowing a group of people with a similar mindset to congregate on the school property for a specific reason. Honestly, personally, I don't have any issue with that. Let me know in the audience if you think that is something that you should have an issue with. Do you think that's a violation of church and state? Or even the most diehard atheist out there, even with the anti-theist who are against religion, who thinks that axiologically that religion or theology, theism, is detrimental overall to the axiological value of society? That's what anti-theism is. Do you guys think that it's okay to have these groups, or do you think that they shouldn't be? But if they do allow them, then this is where the Satanic Temple comes in, because what they do is say, look, we're a religion, and they're officially recognized as a religion, and they have 7 tenets of their religion, which I think I agree with 6 out of the 7. Even the 7th one's, but yeah, I mean, I tend to say, look, these should be Christian. I think that they're just fine. So what they did, they said, look, if you're going to have these chaplains come in and they're going to be, of a religious nature, then we want to have equal representation. We want to have a satanic chaplain come in to teach the kids about Satanism. A long time ago, they had something called the Big Satanic Book of Child Activities or Children Activities. You guys remember that? And it was basically like connect the dots and all those other things. And it was basically like it would have the horns of Mendeley's, or satanic drawings, pentagrams. But it was, again, a creative book. It was a coloring book in order to say, look, if you're going to have these biblical literatures allowed in school, not just the after school class activities, but an actual, handing out of Christian literature, then they should be able to do the same. And they're exactly right. And Tao says it should be up to the states, and I don't mind that either. I am for state rights. So the problem is that I don't know if it should be states' right or federal. I'm not convinced on that. I'm not. I mean, I do believe in state rights, and the problem is you're going to find this probably more in the southern states. The southern states are going to be more open to having religiosity in the schools. A lot of their schools are still trying to deny evolutionary facts. They're still trying to promote creationism. They're back asswards. I mean, this is, be blunt. They're so anti modern science that they're literally trying to put society backwards. And so I don't know if you want to leave it up to the states to make those kind of decisions, but I'll hear arguments on it. So this is his letter. Again, I'm not going to show it. I'm just going to read it because I found out it's too difficult to show for some reason. The browser does not show up well. And so I'm just going to read it to you out loud, okay? In my reading voice. He says, "Dear Christian nationalist," and obviously he used that phrase for a reason, right? Christian nationalists, whether they be far extreme right pillars or they be evangelistic fundamentalist, they're really trying to make America into a society promoted on the fact that somehow that this was a society based upon Christianity and Christian standards, which it never was foundationally. But has it been a huge Christian influence in America? Absolutely. Absolutely. And were the founding fathers Christian? I don't know. Most of them probably deists, but I think a lot of them even then recognize that we need to have our own separation when it comes to church and when it comes to state, and people can have what beliefs they want, but the state itself cannot mandate any religion. It cannot endorse any religion. It cannot prevent freedom of expression of any religion, as long as those religions are not considered to be harmful. And that's a very specific thing. You can't go around killing people in the name of religion. That's harmful. Satanism in the temple of Satan, or the Satanic temple, is clearly not a harmful religion. If anything, it's benevolent in many ways, or at least neutral. But it's not harmful. It's not like practicing dangerous things. So he says, "Dear Christian nationalist, you demand religious freedom for all. At least that is where your demand begins, in begrudging recognition of the fact that in a pluralistic democracy, the government is not at liberty to codify religious favoritism or animus." And what he's saying there is clearly, hey, look, you guys want religious freedom, but you acknowledge that the government cannot favor any religion or have any laws against a specific religion. But this is lip service, it seems, because you don't really mean that. You begrudgingly acknowledge the fact, but that's not what you really want. The Christian nationalists, in his view here, are fundamentalist extremists that want Christianity, their form of Christianity, in secular society to be promoted through the school system. And of course, it raises the question, what flavor of your Christianity you think is going to come out ahead on top? Who knows? Because there's so many different kinds. It's going to be whoever's on the board, obviously. So you've got to have a balance of that, because if you're not a fundamental Baptist and Baptists take over, where's they going to leave the Catholics or the Protestants or the Jews? They're going to be out. They're not going to get their religions promoted out there, and that's not fair. Equality. If you want to promote Catholicism, you have every right to do it. You want to promote fundamental Baptist, I keep saying baptism, Baptist, you go ahead and do it. Okay, if you want to promote Judaism, by all means, go ahead and do it. I love Jewish food. I'm Jewish by culture. But the fact is, as an American, we have to have equal rights for them all to do so. Again, I'm not an anti-theist. I think anti-theists that go around saying that we should abolish religion don't know what they're talking about. That will never happen, nor should it happen. If religion is going to go away, it's going to go away organically. You cannot mandate religion away. It has the opposite effect. It has never worked out well for any government to mandate religion away. Now, there are certain circumstances where there have been specific religions that they've deemed not exactly religious. Scientology, for example. We all know that that's a scam. Sorry, Scientologists, it's a scam. Don't sue me. But, as far as Mormonism or Jehovah's Witness or anything like that, that's not a scam. It's just, false beliefs, right? But they're not mandated by the government that say that, look, this is not a real religion. And some churches probably do use religion for tax benefits. Dishonestly so. And then he says, but you don't mean it. Feeling that the weight of religious majority is on your side, you assume that your efforts to allow religious expression in the public square will result in public spaces being overtaken by propaganda, declaring that this is a, quote, Christian nation, the evidence for which resides circularly in your public displays of religious expression. We have seen this before. Under God was added to the Pledge of Allegiance in 1954, and under God was added a currency in 1955, and these remain, defended by arguments that claim the phrases are merely, quote, ceremonial, having been neutralized, quote, because they have lost through rote repetition any significant religious content. And here's the thing on that might actually be an argument for that. And I don't know if Lucien agrees with this or not. I mean, it has been desensitized under God and under Pledge of Allegiance that it may lose some significant religious content, just for the same reasons why something says in an insurance policy it was an act of God. When something is an act of God, they know it means something relating to a natural cause. Oh, I'm just stretching here. Sorry, I've been sitting since a while. I had a stream earlier on my other channel. But there is a loss of significant religious content when you're talking about an act of God, an insurance policy. So the under God and the under pledge allegiance and on money, okay, maybe it has lost something, but still, it does seem to me, and I don't want to be that non-believer guy that I always kind of complain about. It does seem to me that is a violation of church and state to have on the money one nation under God. It seems to me a violation of church state that you have to swear in on the Bible, or you have to swear under oath in the Constitution, so help me God. Now, they have changed that. You can swear on a Quran now. You can say, so help me Allah, or I don't know, flying for spaghetti monkey, flying for spaghetti monster. Where do I get monkey from? I'm telling you, my coffee, man, it's wearing off. I got to drink more. Oh, I'm a bit quiet. I shouldn't be quiet. I should be pretty loud. I just noticed that. I was afraid of, is anybody else hearing me quite fine? Because my meters are going strong. I don't think I'm quiet, but can I get a second opinion on that? I can see if I can boost it up. Let me know. But I need 2 people to tell me I'm quiet. Then I'll see if I can boost up. Yeah, monkey, the flying spaghetti monkey. Yeah. So because I had earlier, everybody said the audio was fine. So I don't want to mess with it because I was tweaking it big time. But I do think that there is an argument to be had that, yeah, it's probably through repetition, it loses any religious content because it's been on for so long. But it's still irksome. And if they removed it, I would be okay with that. Yeah, most streamers nowadays are loud. I don't like peaking, so I keep the audio low. I think it sounds better. Then he continues on. He says, and yet, anytime you are presented with the prospect of having to share your religious accommodations with another party, we find you waving a dollar bill, presenting, quote, "In God we trust," as proof of a codified Christian supremacy, proof of your, quote, Christian nation. But the truth is that this is not a Christian nation. And this is why it is necessary to lie about your intentions, your willingness to accept religious freedom for all up to the point in which another religion becomes involved. And I think he's spot on with that. Because I have seen people do that. This is a Christian nation. It's on the money. It's on the Pledge of Allegiance. The founding fathers were Christian. No, they weren't. They were deists at best. And even if they were Christian, who cares? They recognized that this country had to have a separation of church and state. They recognize that we should not be promoting any particular religion, including Christianity. And so there is an argument to be had that Christians that are in the government want Christianity in government and to the exclusion of all other belief systems. And how they decide which flavor, I don't even know, because there's so many different flavors of religion out there when it comes to Christianity. But they do seem to talk out of both sides of their mouth there. That, oh, we want to be inclusive. We want to have all religions involved, except your religion. Nope, you can't have Mormonism in the schools. Nope, you can't have Jehovah's Witness in the schools. Nope, you can't have Catholic in the church in the schools. And again, we have to recognize that if we allow one, we have to allow equal. And I have no problem with that. I don't. Well, I mean, I think it should be none. Don't be wrong. Let me clarify. I don't think it should have any. But if you are going to allow one, and this is the conditional implication here, if you are going to allow one, then you must allow any of them. You cannot at all say only this religion is going to be in the school or a chaplain of this denomination. This chaplain would have to be someone who is aware of Satanism as well, or have a separate chaplain for each denomination that wants one. And again, these are volunteer positions. I mean, who decides who will be the chaplain in the school system? In the military, the chaplain is versed in many different religions. Matter of fact, the chaplain actually has to have a degree. I believe they have to have a master's degree, if I'm not mistaken, to be a chaplain in the military. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's a master's degree. It could just be a bachelor's. But they have to have a degree in divinity or some related subject, so they understand how to deal with other people's faiths. And they're not allowed to convert anybody. You can't, if you're church and you go to your synagogue on Sunday or Saturday, whatever, the chaplain can do the Jewish session, or if they can't, they have somebody appointed to do so, another senior officer usually, or maybe a low-level officer. It doesn't, I guess, have to be senior officer, but it's usually it's always an officer. Yeah. Let's see. All right. And then he goes on to say, but you object. Satanism is not simply, quote, another religion. It is an affront to your religious specifically, a direct insult against that which you hold sacred. That is how you see it. That is the way in which you insist it must be seen. And these are the only motives you will believe that Satanists are acting upon. But even if this was true, which it's not, your arguments for the exclusion of Satanists from any religious recognition would be incoherent. Religious freedom includes freedom to believe as one will and follow one's own conscience, as well as the freedom to doubt or disbelieve. Protection from religious liberties include, and have always included, the protection from both practice and opinion. As I have pointed out, Thomas Jefferson made this explicit, writing in a bill for establishing religious freedom, 1779, that, quote, all men shall be free to profess and by argument to maintain their opinions in matters of religion, and that the same shall in no wise diminish, enlarge, or affect their civil capacities. In his memoirs, Jefferson clarified, quote, protection of opinion was meant to be universal, and the document included, within the mantle of its protection, the Jew and the Gentile, the Christian and the Mahometan, and the Hindu and the infidel of every denomination. That is right there what Jefferson said, including the infidel. I don't think Satanists would mind being called infidels. Technically, they would be considered to be infidels. I mean, heretics. Okay, fine. According to the Christian church, and I think they would embrace that. But just because Satanism is antithetical to Christianity does not mean Christianity is allowed to exclude them. And even then, as Lucine Greaves points out, the Church of Satan, the Satanic Temple, I'm not going to get into the Church of Satan because they have some magic stuff that they do believe in, chaos magic, and they're not interested in secularization of church and state. But the Satanic Temple is a political group, and they're not trying to promote biblical Satanism. They believe no such being exist. They're not antithetical to Christianity in that regard. They're antithetical to Christianity, trying to promote Christianity solely in politics and schools. That's the problem. And so the reality is Christians have really no reason to not want Satanism in schools, because again, they're not talking about a literal Satan. They're just not. It's symbolism. And if that's an affront to Christianity, so what? Every religion is an affront to somebody else's religion. I mean, there's been wars waged. Wow. I am telling you, this is what happens at late at night, man. I need more coffee. One sec. There has been wars waged. There we go. For centuries, for millennia, over differing ideological beliefs. And Satanism is not antithetical to theism, not the Satanic Temple version. What is it that they believe that's antithetical to Christianity besides what any other person would normally believe, because they don't believe the divinity of God or Christ? I mean, I'll go over to their tenets, and you can tell me what you think is so antithetical to Christianity. He goes on to say, but Satanism is not an insult meant to provoke offense from Christians. It is from the Church of Satan, but he goes, to pretend that it is to pretend that we are invading barbarians who have arrived from distant shores to arrogantly mock in a new and bizarre primitive superstition. Not only do we have our own set of affirmed values that define us, regardless of whether they conflict or agree with any of the various sects of Christianity, but most of us came into awareness in this culture, or in a culture steeped in Christianity, iconography, parables, panics, and prohibitions, giving them a permanent life in our mind, becoming the raw material from which we learn to express our own values. We were made to understand the most compelling of existential questions. He says it twice. Within the framework that you contextualize them in. In a Monarchian battle, that's a great word, by the way, Monarchian. the ultimate good against the ultimate evil. This war between good and evil. In Monarchian battle against the Christian God and his adversary, Satan. We came to see your God in a way you show him as a divine autocrat demanding subjugation, which sounds like the Old Testament to me. And your subjugation to him is real, even if he is not. Again, Satanism is a naturalistic religion. They believe an ontological naturalism, that there is no supernatural, is no God, is no ghost, is no demons, not just merely a lacking of belief. It's not just this lack of belief atheism nonsense. It is the belief that God does not exist. They are an actual atheist organization. Now, unlike American Atheists, who's not. Ding. Our resistance to autocracy is real, even if Satan is our collective voice and principles rather than our ruler. In other words, their version of Satan is not an individual. It's not a manifestation of evil. It's not supernatural. Their collective of Satan is their voices and their principles that they're stand behind, which might be in conflict of Christianity. I might be, but even still, they're not evil in nature. There is not a Monarchian battle. He goes on to say, you want it both ways. You seek relentlessly to be allowed to proselytize publicly, while you also frame disagreements with your viewpoints as unprovoked attacks. Boy, is that so true. A lot of Christians out there, they claim this persecution, that if you disagree with them, they're being persecuted. Where in America is Christianity persecuted anymore? You literally can almost do anything you want. There, besides normal laws that anybody has to abide by, you can read your Bible anywhere you want. You can pray anywhere you want. You can go to any church you want. You have the freedom to believe anything you want. Where are Christians being persecuted? If they are, I don't see it. And if it is, it's myopic that you have to look on a small level. So, because I mean, they have so much power, it's ridiculous. I mean, if Christians are being persecuted, then they don't know what persecution is. They don't remember what Christian persecution used to be 2,000 years ago. They were persecuted. The Jews were persecuted. Blacks have been persecuted. Pretty much every group. Irish have been persecuted. Muslims have been persecuted. Every group at some point in time has probably had some kind of persecution. But if they think today in 2024 that they're being persecuted, then that's just nonsense. They say, you seek to impose your prohibitions on others while seeking exemptions from the law. That's true too. You insist that the tradition legitimizes your claims, even as you often do not bother to attempt to attach your viewpoints to some scriptural foundation. You pretend to speak for all Christians, openly ignoring that you are a minority of Christendom, ignoring those Christians who take offense at what they see as your blasphemous efforts to claim what they hold sacred as government property. I mean, a lot of people in government that are Christians are young earth creationists. The vice president was a young earth creationist. That's one of the senator guys. I can't remember his name. He got the glasses. He's a young earth creationist. We have people in government who do not recognize that the earth is billions of years old. That should scare the hell out of you. It really should. That's the only thing worse would be if we had a flat earther in Congress or in the Senate or as president. Can you imagine if we had a president that was a flat earther? Look, let's be real. Trump sucks. I'm just going to tell you, I'm not a Trumpian fan. Even though I was like, hey, let's let Trump win over Hillary, because we'll let the world burn and we'll pick up the pieces and start over again. That was my belief, and I still hold to that. I didn't want Hillary, still don't. But I recognize that Trump was going to be terrible. Didn't have any idea how bad he really was going to be. But I was hoping we would learn something from this. The fact he's running again just proves that America hasn't learned squat. We just haven't. But it should scare you that we have people in our government that don't accept evolutionary facts of reality. That, to me, shows that they have a huge disconnect with reality. If they can't even get the science right, why would you want them in charge of anything? That really does scare me. It really does. And then he goes on to say, you ignore those Christians who support our viewpoints on pluralism and government neutrality, because it lays bare the lie that you like to tell about our motives. That what we do is about offending you, rather than supporting the democratic values that we hold sacred. Values you are afraid to explore too deeply, knowing that you claim to support them only when you believe it benefits you alone. Again, I think Lucene is absolutely spot on here. What he's saying is that these Christians in government that wanting this bill, they espouse them, this high virtue of we got to have, freedom to believe what we want. We've got to be able to express our Christendom. But any Christian who disagrees with us, nope, we're not going to allow them. All the old earth creationists out there, all the people that are out there saying, no, you young earth creationists in government, you're all wrong. Or even just people that want some neutrality in government from separation of church and state. They can't allow that. They have to shut that down. We see your true intentions. Oh, wait. Yeah. We see your true intentions in the accusation that you hurl at us. While we established our school clubs to offer an alternative to pre-existing Christian fundamentalist clubs that you have insisted we separate from the school curriculum and outside the jurisdiction of the school board's veto, you demand that school boards veto our club, objecting that we seek to indoctrinate children. So it's funny that they use that argument, right? They'll be like, wait a minute, we cannot have these after-school satanic clubs because all they're doing is seeking to indoctrinate children. You kind of see the problem there? If you're going to levy that about Satanist clubs, how is that same thing not levied against the Christian club? It's the same argument. Different beliefs, same argument. And it's not indoctrination. If it's, I mean, it isn't. I mean, it depends on what you mean by indoctrination. I shouldn't say that. I mean, there's a lot of indoctrination going on, but I think indoctrination really requires a little bit of a hint of dishonesty. I think that Satanism puts their cards on the table. I don't think they have to lie and manipulate people like I see some Christians do in order to get their beliefs out there. Because a lot of them do believe that the ends justify the means, the Machiavellian approach that, hey, look, you believe in God, you're saved, doesn't matter, we had to lie to you to do it. But that's, something the Muslims could do as well. But he is right. It is true that they are trying to get school boards to veto having satanic clubs. That's sorry, but that's going to eventually go to lawsuits. The Supreme Court will not allow that. That's considered to be a violation. If you allow one, you allow both. But look how much they lost their mind when you can have a satanic, what do they call them? They're like the Christians would have a prayer before school, and invocation. I guess the same thing. I guess the Satanic Church has invocations as well, and they would have a satanic prayer. Aaron Ra did one for a governmental function. I don't remember what it was. It's probably a state function in Texas, if I'm not mistaken. Was it the state court building or something? And I'm like, okay, cool. Look, if you allow a prayer from a Christian organization, equal opportunity. Now the problem is this, and I haven't really figured out how this works yet. If you only have time for one prayer, do you do it for the Christians or do you do it for the Satanists? Or do you have to include them? Do you have to go, do you have to end the invocation as, something along the lines of amen? Or do you have to end it as Ave Santanis, amen? Because they don't say praise Jesus in these invocations. They just end it usually with amen. But to be equal, would they have to say amen, Ave Santanis? Or something to that effect? I don't know. He says, we seek equal. Oh, by the way, I should point out, they're not even interested in indoctrinating the children. Again, they're pointing out that the system is flawed by allowing these Christian organizations to exist in the first place. But since I'm not against them, I don't really care. But they make a point that if you do allow them, you have to allow Satanism. That's all. That's it. When we seek equal access in public forums available to religious displays, you demand that we be banned on the grounds that our participation silence you, which is absolutely ridiculously, wrong. That it doesn't silence them. I mean, he's correct, but it doesn't silence them. When you have a Christian, unveiling of some statue or something like that, okay, well, that's when they bring up that statue of Bahamut, right? Equal. It doesn't silence the question. It just adds to it. But you only feel silence because your intended message is an assertion of your exclusive entitlement and supremacy. They want to be the only ones out there. They want to be the only ones unable to do any of these things, to have the religious freedoms, to have the prayer in school, which again, I am against prayer in school, but not after school clubs. They want to be the only ones that are allowed to promote their particular brand of ideology. You claim that we are political rather than religious. Well, they are actually, but he says, even as you openly seek to install your flunkies in roles within and influence to politics. Well, I mean, the Satanic Temple is a political organization, but they also are religion. They're both. They're both. They are officially recognized as a religion, and I can understand them as a religion. Look, religion has performative action to it, okay, based upon your beliefs. And even though that their beliefs are not in the same realm as a supernatural, divine, spiritual nature, I still think that it relates to some kind of spirituality and supernatural nature, that those don't exist. And the Supreme Court has treated like atheism as the same as having religious protections. And some people out there have been dishonest and say, well, they said that atheism is a religion. That's not what they said. Atheism is not a religion. There are atheistic religions out there. A religion can be atheistic, but religion is no more, atheism is no more religion than theism is religion. Theism is not a religion. Theism is just a belief there's a God. In that theism camp, then you have people that have some kind of religion or religiosity. Some of them may not be religious. They might just have a belief in God. You want to recall that religious? Okay. To me, religion is more performative, but I'm not against somebody saying you believe in God. It implies you're religious. Okay, whatever. But the atheist doesn't believe there's a God. They believe there isn't a God. And so that has the same protections of somebody who believes there is a God. And it should. If you believe there's a God, you should have all the protections in the world as an American. I firmly believe this. If you believe there's no God, you should have the same fundamental protections. That's what they ruled upon. And now your flunkies are overplaying your hand, outright attempting to codify Christian nationalist supremacy in complete ignorance of the Constitution and in flagrant disregard of democratic principles. True. They desperately seek to limit the federal recognition of, quote, religion to only those that are theistic, in complete ignorance of the history of non-theistic religion traditions extending far beyond and long preceding Satanism. That's true. There are many religions out there that are non-theistic. Taoism, Jainism, Buddhism. Sure, there's maybe religious versions of certain things, but for the most part, these are considered to be religions that are not theistic in nature. And in flagrant disregard of the fact that religions or non-belief are and should be afforded equal religious protections, even if not attached to a recognized religious organization. Absolutely. They seek to limit any perceived criticism of their viewpoints, even as they seek to limit the civil liberties of others based upon those viewpoints. Absolutely. I like how I use civil liberties, because the right to for religion, the First Amendment, the right to freedom of speech, and right to assemble, right to regress, right for press, right for religion. That's not actually a right, believe it or not. That's actually a liberty. It's a civil liberty. It just happens to be in the Bill of Rights, called the Bill of Rights, but it's a misnomer. A right is something that is given because of a protection. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 was protections. You can't be discriminated against because of your race, creed, religion, color, sexual preference. Those are all rights. But the freedom to bear arms, to vote, anything like that, those are all liberties, civil liberties. Hey, Matters Now. I see you sneaking in there. Matters Now going, how did I know Matters Now is coming in there? Yeah, because I'm smart. Welcome to you and your friends. He goes on to say, they seek to limit any perceived criticism of their viewpoints, even as they seek to limit the civil liberties. Oh, I'd read that. Okay. And he says, but it won't work. Your elected flunkies fail to do any of the work that would allow for success. Just as generations of your theocratic efforts have provided ample justification for the image of the righteous Satan in contrast to a depraved God, spawning a new generation of satanic uprising. Your disingenuous and outright false, self-serving arguments have attracted the least capable and critical minds and now made clear in their tactless and futile approaches to carrying out your theocratic coup. Ooh. Man, I'm telling you, Lucine writes in a high verbiage. I like it. But he is comparing the righteous Satan to the depraved God that he thinks that they worship, and the Old Testament can be charged with this. They submit bills now that are based on no legal theory at all, with no reference to the Constitution. They contradict, much less any attempt to reconcile those contradictions. In other words, the bill isn't predicated on the Constitution. They don't. I have the bill, and I've read a little bit of it, HB 0514, and I don't think they make a case for it. There's nothing allows for this in the Constitution. In fact, it seems to be in direct violation of the Constitution. They demand nothing short of being able to define Satanism and to define Christianity on their own terms. Attempting to eradicate a specific iconography, independent of the actual practices, values, and even messages that the iconography may express. They've abandoned your tact and your disingenuous lies, openly stating that parts you kept silent for so long, the parts that admit to your abandonment and your contempt and of actual religious freedom. This is not to say that no anti-Satanist bill are likely to pass. The bills are, however, impossible to have upheld by the courts without there finally being a general recognition that the coup is afoot and the law itself has been abandoned. And he makes a good point. If this is upheld, if this bill goes through, it will go all the way to the state Supreme Court and then the Utah State Supreme Court and then the SCOTUS probably. But I don't think it'll ever make that far. I think this bill will get shot down. If it doesn't, it's scary. And I'm telling you, people should be moving out of these states that allow for this. Move out of states that don't allow for freedom, because that's how you start getting into a totalitarian type society. That's how you start getting into where you have police officers that are not held accountable for their actions, where they have unassailable qualified immunity for doing whatever they want. That's a totalitarian type state. That's a dictatorship. That's an autocracy. That is something that we should always try to avoid in America. And the states that are allowing these things to happen, those are the states that people should be leaving in droves. And it's not until you affect the economy will people make change. Not until you affect the school boards will people make change. The people that are voting these people in at the local level are the ones that should be held accountable and judged for having things like this even happen to be able to come up. This is a state elected representative that put this bill in. They should be ashamed of themselves. This is antithetical to everything that they stand for, because when you're representative of some kind of constituency, you represent the whole. You don't represent special groups. You don't. And this is representing a special group because they're putting their ideological beliefs first, the Christianity first. I don't know. YouTube doesn't promote me at all anymore, Ozian. Hey, Ozian, you want to come in? You want to be my? I can add you in. I can put you over here. You want to come in, Ozian? I'm going to assume that you want to. Give me a second, and I might be able to do this for you. I'll DM you. 1 second. Check your DMs, Ozian. And I'll bring you in here if you want to come in. Just gotta. Oh, Chris may want to come in too. I don't know. Let's see here, but where are you at? Oh, in here. All right, I just gave you the link to join if you want to come in. But you gotta have a camera. It won't work without camera. Okay. Yeah, Twitter. Yeah, Twitter. And then let's see if I got to cut you in here. Give me a second. All. Look at that. I went into her twice. Okay. That should do it when you come in. I already did all the layout and everything, so. Yeah, let me go back to this one, though. I kind of like this one better. There you go. Let me finish reading this as I'm waiting for you to come in. Let me know if you have a problem coming in. It's difficult sometimes. He says, by whatever route we get there, regardless of how much longer we need to fight this fight and against your efforts to create a theocracy, it is easy to see where your efforts are leading. And again, I think that a lot of Christians want a theocracy, but the problem is that the theocracy you want isn't going to be your flavor. It's almost inevitable. That can't be. It's just impossible that everybody's going to get what they want. There's too many disagreements when it comes to religion. Yeah, you have to select your camera. There's something I can do about that is vMix call. And so when you go in, you have to use Chrome, and when you go in, you have to turn off your OBS. Well, no, I guess you can use your OBS because I'm using my OBS, but it was a pain to do it. But you have to like figure out how to make it select your camera. Then he says, let's see here. It's easy to see where efforts are leading as you fight to define the rights of others within the framework of your superstition, as you fight to impose your own norms upon the most intimate and personal interests and activities of individuals. You inadvertently proselytize for Satanism. Interesting. In your arrogant insistence in executing your opportunistic, grandstanding culture war crusades in the voice of your God, you have presented him as antagonistic, cruel, dictatorial, and unintelligent. You make intuitive what might have been once obscure. The counter-narrative of a benevolent, compassionate Satan as a defender of pluralistic liberty. And I like the way he put that. He's basically saying, look, we're Satanists and we're believing in equal rights. We're Satanists and we're believing that we should have equal representation on the law. We're Satanists and we believe we should not have a theocracy. We should not have a nation that has been promoted on a single religion. Because, again, what if that religion is not your particular brand? That should be, scare. That should scare the average Christian. The average Christian be like, yeah, we don't want a theocracy. Now, I understand this, and I'm probably going to lose my atheist argument or my atheist audience here, because they're going to be like, oh, Steve, you're now a believer, you're now a theist. I get accused of that every day. Every time I make an argument or something on Facebook, somebody goes, oh, well, I just don't believe in your God. I'm like, what the hell God do I believe in? But I'll probably, oh, hey, I was in. There you are. All right, let me cut you in here. I see you. I'm going to add you to see if I can add you. I thought I just added you to the stream. It didn't work. I got you, bro. One sec. I see you hiding there. One sec. Just give me a minute. That's me. Let me add you. Where is this? I don't know which one it is. No, that's too big. Wait a sec. No, don't do that. No, don't do that either. Where are there? Oh my goodness. I don't know which one it is. No, still not that one. I will figure it out. One sec. Maybe it's this one. It's got to be this one. There we go. Woo. Okay.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but I got to make sure the audience can hear you. So one sec. I got to look my audio meters. I haven't done this in a while. It looks like they can hear you. They should be able to hear you. But
all right, I've never used it before at all.
This is an expensive program, man. This program costs $1,200.
Really? Wow.
I'm not even joking.
Does it allow like for phone calls and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, it allows for 4 different cameras, NDI input. It's pretty. It looks really simple too, but it's not that hard to figure out once. It took me a while to figure it out, but it's not like a super hard learning curve. But I can't do half the stuff they can do. I mean, it's super powerful. But anyways,
OBS uses NDI too, but go ahead.
Yeah, OBS NDI has an NDI now. Let me finish reading this and let's discuss a little bit while the outside catches up, and they can let me know if your audio is okay. Sounds fine to me though. And then I want to get your input on it. So he goes on to say, this is getting near the end. You insist that you represent, quote, good, and that Satan represents, quote, evil. But then you act in ways that are morally reprehensible, tarnishing your credibility and the credibility of your faith. You force reasonable people to reevaluate your assumptions regarding morality. I think that's so true. I think a lot of Christians are not paragons of virtue, to say the least. But that doesn't mean all of them. I mean, I'm not an anti-theist. I respect many Christians. This show is for all that have an opinion, whether it be Christian or atheist. It doesn't matter. Or anywhere in between. But if you're going to have a belief, at least have a belief that's based upon some kind of reasoning, and make it your actual belief. Don't lie about your beliefs. So those kind of theists that are very sincere, I support them 100%. The ones that are out there that are saying we should get rid of all religion, it just doesn't work. And he says, you force reasonable people to reevaluate your assumptions regarding morality. You demonstrate that people who loudly declare themselves good are capable, perhaps even extra inclined toward the most despicable acts of evil. You have become the symbols of self-licensing and thoughtless disregard. As emissaries of your God, you are causing people to see not only his despotism and inhumanity. You have taught us to seek other means through which we express true ethical, humanistic values. You have abandoned liberal democracy in the name of your God, and in doing so, you have given the future to Satan. Hail Satan, love, Lucien Greaves. Are you familiar with Lucien? Have you talked to him?
No, I haven't.
Great guest, Dave. I mean, he's super busy nowadays. I mean, he's a lot bigger than he was when he was on the Non-Sequitur Show, you know. There's like a threshold you can get as somebody who does your own shows, you have this range of window of guests that you can kind of get, right? And,
Yeah.
right. And you know your high end, like my high end, I peaked out with like, Dr. Krauss, right? Dr. Lawrence Krauss. He was high end. Dr. Nathaniel Jensen is very high end from the creationist side. But I think that getting Lucien out would be difficult nowadays. Yeah. By the way, did they say they can hear you? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Is he Satanic Temple? I think
he's the Satanic Temple. Yeah. There's the Church of Satan and the Satanic Temple. The Church of Satan is a lot more about hedonism. It's more about life, living your life in a very hedonistic, self-centered lifestyle. But they still have things like consent and things of that nature. But they do believe in what's called chaos magic, which is kind of this esoteric way of looking at things. It's not really formalized, I don't think. It's some kind of supernatural, but they do think it is beyond the natural. But I'm not that familiar with Church of Satan.
Yeah, there was a period of time where my parents were playing with Church of Satan stuff, like those beliefs. And they had friends that were, yeah. And they had friends then they were Wiccans for a while. Then I don't know. My dad went through beliefs like, underwear, which wasn't very often. So
I get it. I dabble in that cult too.
I mean, I agree. I don't like the language he's using, like Satan or whatever, but I sort of get where he's going with it. But like you got to like adopt liberal democracy if you want freedom of religion. Otherwise, the Satanists could get in charge and ban Christianity.
Yeah. I mean, think about that. If they're allowing for this, in theory, that could happen. Now, is it going to happen? No. But I mean, in theory, it certainly could. But if you take out the word Satan, then what is there to object by? What is so wrong? What he's saying? If you just put, look, we're a Republican organization or Democratic organization, pick a side. We're a centrist position organization. These are the things we believe, and it don't even have to involve any of the religious stuff. What would the Christians in power have to say about it then? The only reason they're having pushback on it is because it's this imagery, this iconic, the iconography of Satanism. They're triggered by, they're bothered by it, and I'm like, well, who cares? People get offended all the freaking time about things. If they're so offended by the iconography, then don't go to the satanic churches. But you have to allow it. If the Satanist goes, hey, look, I'm triggered by your crucifix over here, I'm triggered by you wearing the cross, they'd say freedom of expression, freedom of religion. But they don't extend that same exact freedom to Satanists. When I wear my do I have it over here? I have a necklace of an upside down cross that I wear. That stands for Ghost. BC, the group Ghost. I thought it over here, but maybe I moved it.
Yeah. I have an atheist emblem, actually.
I'd wear that too, even though I'm not atheist. But it would.
Yeah,
I don't think there's is there a symbol for non-belief? I don't know.
Well, it's just an A with the little atoms, like for the ETs in the Navy. Like, anyway.
Yeah.
But I also have, I'm an ordained minister, like to the Universal Life Church. And I like promote the concept of freedom of religion and from religion. Like, I really do believe and endorse that principle. I get in arguments with atheists all the time about, I did it today, like with one of my co-hosts on Matters Now, about them trying to do they were doing a literary critique about Jesus being God or not. I'm like, well, but that's not falsifying their internal worldview by you doing that. So what's the point? Like, if they believe the Bible testifies to the fact that Jesus is God and part of the Trinity, you doing an external critique doesn't falsify their belief.
No, I mean, it's fine to do an external critique, but that's all it is. It's not going to be. You don't do an external critique to really change somebody's mind. You find the problem is in the internal critique.
Yeah.
Right? Do you agree? Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I was trying to tell him. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's good for fun. Like, yeah, it's not like I don't disagree with them with his literary critique of the Bible. I think reading the strict reading of the New Testament contradicts the Old Testament because of the genealogy isn't correct for the two genealogies they give based upon what the Old Testament says. But that's a different argument. They have apologetics. They have a theology to explain that and to understand that, to make Christianity true to them. Mm-hmm. So like me, like offering it's a reason for me to reject Christianity, but that's just my view.
Anyways, yeah, no, I think that's perfectly fine. But you and I agree on that. We're not out there trying to get rid of religion. We're not out there trying to change the mind of the Christian. That's never been anything that this show, this channel, or my other channel has ever been attempt to do. It's always been a non-belief channel, but it's not been what I consider to be an atheist channel, even though it's mentioned in FeedSpot's top 50 atheist channels. I'm on FeedSpot's top 50 twice for the 2024. But neither one of my channels are atheist; they're non-belief. So I think that you're exactly right, and I know Christians. I know Christians will appreciate that. I know the atheists will probably go, hey, you're just acting like a theist. These are your theist mindsets. And it's like, no, this is equal understanding under the Constitution that the freedom from religion allows for freedom of religion. They're hand in hand. You cannot have one without the other. And you and I recognize this, but a lot of the angry atheists out there, they don't seem to get that. And it's offensive to them to even have religion. It's like, well, then, deal with it. I mean, like I said, if religion goes away, it's going to go away organically. And you can help that. Don't get me wrong. If they wanted to try to make religion go away, I have nothing against that either. But it's not going to be something that's done overnight.
Well, my goal is to give justification for people to believe that they can get morality, value, purpose, and all these things in a not God world. Like, that's why I wrote the book I did on Beyond Faith. That's why I do the type of arguments I do, is try to give people like some reason not to believe in God besides just pure skepticism. And yes, skepticism can get you there, but I don't think it adds value to people's lives. And I worry about people like suffering because of loss of faith and stuff like that. I think that's a real thing that happens. There was somewhere I was going to go specifically with this, and I'm old now. I don't know if you've experienced that before.
Oh, that's every day with me. Oh, I have felt my age like you wouldn't believe, brother. I am 54 and I feel every day of it.
Yeah, I just turned 51. I want people to disbelieve in God because I think it's healthier but there's some people that need to believe in something bigger than themselves to give themselves value and purpose. It seems like they become directionless. Who was it? One of the Christian apologists that comes on, not Inspiring Philosophy. David. No, it's David.
No.
No.
David.
I know the name. Dave, whatever he does.
Pullman, Dave Pullman.
No, dang it.
He's philosophy.
Anyways, his story. Maybe I can tell you his story. Like he did a debate with Daniel Hikachu a bit ago too, but his story was he went to prison for bashing his father's head in with a hammer, and he found God.
Yeah, I've heard. I know him. Yeah, I mean, I don't know personally, but I've seen him before.
Comes off. I met him at the BayCon 4. He comes off as a wonderful, great guy, but he needs, because he has like some disorder, like with dealing with other people, but he needs found God, and found this belief beyond him to ground his value and purpose and morality in life, and has raised a family, got married, and all these things to make his life better. So, like for people like him, like yes, maybe he needs some type of grounding like that because his upbringing, some reason, failed him because he fell into some form of nihilism. He believed he was justified into doing that. So,
yep, yeah, I don't remember his name, but I do remember seeing him on some shows. Somebody's putting a shout out to you. It's Probing Times. It's Probing Times 666.
Yeah,
it's one of yours.
The devil made me do it. Yeah, hello to you.
By the way, everyone. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. Oh, we were doing a debate Christian show. Yeah.
Oh, is that what you came from? What you were doing earlier?
Yeah, we redirected to you, so you got a raid from us.
Yeah, I know. I saw it come up. It actually gives me a message when you do that. Thank you. I appreciate that. I did point that out. I got a message for the redirect. And just to let you guys know out there, I did turn off the subscribe for chat, but I usually turn it on. I just didn't for this particular episode. I didn't know he was going to be coming over. But I just said, I'll just leave it off today. I do have it on, so normally on. So if you want to be able to chat in this future episodes, subscribe to the channel. Plus, hey, subscribe to the channel. Come on, you're over here. I vote him too, and I subscribe to him. So all my guys over at NonSequitur Show that ever listen to this, go subscribe to Media Matters or Media Now.
Matters now. Not Media's Matters. Come on now. Yeah, I'm not some Democrat. Just don't tell my viewers I'm not a Democrat.
That's a different organization altogether now, isn't it?
I'm actually in conversation with the presidential candidate, hoping to have him on my show. It's a libertarian candidate, but
not.
Hey,
don't tell me. Don't tell me it's the one that we had on. What's his name? The one that was. Oh my goodness! The one that thought that people are going to be building roads on their own accord. What's his name? Adam Kokesh.
No, not him.
Okay.
No, Joshua Smith. Adam Kokesh. I don't like Adam Kokesh. I'm not a freaking anarchist.
Is it Kokesh or Kokesh?
Kokesh, I think. But I've talked to him before.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was a big donator for a while.
Really?
Yeah.
You supported Adam? Interesting.
No, not him, but the Libertarian Party. So they call me sometimes for more money. So anyways.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't like those phone calls. So let me do this. I want to go over the 7 fundamental tenets of Satanism, and I want the audience to tell me if this is something they agree with or don't agree with. So if you agree with it, put 1. If you don't agree, put 2. If you have no stance on it, just don't do anything or whatever the hell you want. Sound good, Ozian? Let's do that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So number 1, these are the 7 fundamental tenets of the Satanic Temple. 1, one should strive to act with compassion and empathy toward all creatures in accordance with reason. And I'll read them twice. One should strive to act with compassion and empathy toward all creatures in accordance with reason. Absolutely agree with that. That's virtue ethics right there. I mean, to have empathy is a hallmark of humanity. To be able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes is humanity. To have compassion for people is humanity. The people that lack compassion, the people who are non-empathetic, they're evil. And I do use the word evil. I'm an evil revivalist. I'm not an evil skeptic. I think evil exists. And I don't mean in any supernatural way. That doesn't connote or connotate any kind of supernaturalism. But I mean, you agree with this first tenet?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a virtue ethicist, so I do agree that we should show compassion within reason. Like sometimes we have to use violence when appropriate, but not in general. I think in general people are good people. Well, I wouldn't call all sociopaths evil. Some people have mental problems where we're physically abused and need our
Oh, sure. Yeah,
compassion
not all of them.
to help
Not all of them.
overcome those things. So
Yeah, no, but sociopaths who go out of their way to harm people, and I know a lot of them. You know, I know a lot of them. I have dealt with them. I have literally had them on the show and be a part of the show. They are not good people. They're sociopaths that go out of their way to harm people are not good people. And I got to,
yeah.
I mean, I got to tell people they will bite you if they have the opportunity to do it. No question about it. Just a matter of time. All right. So it looks like everybody says one except for two. Wicked Wally says he doesn't agree with it. So I'm curious, Wicked Wally, if you don't mind, why do you think we should not strive to act with compassion and empathy toward all creatures in accordance with reason? Do you think we should go out of way to be non-compassionate, non-empathetic? Do you think we shouldn't use reason? Put him on the spot here, by the way. And while he's answering that, let's go to number two. Ready? Do you want to read these two? You can read these. My throat's gonna.
I don't have them open. I'll pull them up.
Yeah, pull them up.
And
so
just what Adam said there, like it does, just because good and evil could be human concepts, it doesn't invalidate them as useful concepts to use in discussions.
Yeah, even if they're man-made, so what? I agree they're man-made. I don't think they come from any god, but there are evil and good. You know, when we say that an evil act, we are describing something that is beyond just normally bad. We're saying that is repugnant to the senses. We're saying that is horrifying, or natural evil, which is an evil that doesn't have an intentional states. A hurricane, a tornado that causes damage is called a natural evil. It's a category that we created to describe a particular type of situation where there is harm, but no intention of harm through some kind of mind. So yes, it was created by man, but that, as Ozian rightly pointed out, does not negate their usefulness.
Yeah, I believe evil has some moral culpability and hurricanes don't. So just linguistically, I wouldn't call natural evils a thing, but I understand what you say when you say a hurricane is evil.
Yeah.
But so tenet number two, the struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions.
Read it twice.
Again. Yeah. Tenet number two, the struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions. And one was if you agree, two if you don't agree.
All right. And I'll get back to Wally here. I agree with this one. I think that if there are unjust laws, unjust institutions, they should be fought against. I think there are such things as laws that have been put on the books that are unjust laws. And those laws should not merely be challenged, they should be openly violated and flagrantly so if they're completely immoral. Rosa Parks, for example, she did that, and look the change she made on that. Unfortunately, not a lot of people can put themselves in that kind of position. Every time people stand up for themselves, bad things tend to happen to them. I am living proof of this. I've always done what I thought was right, but it's cost me a lot. But I still don't regret doing what I thought was right, because it was the right thing to do. So yeah, I think that the struggle for justice should supersede any man-made laws or institutions that are deemed blatantly in violation of humanity's rights and constitutions. Like any kind of Jim Crow law should automatically be shot down and flaunted 100%. Do you agree?
Yeah, and this is appealing to some sense of justice that supersedes law. So like there must be like some, and I do agree. I think if there's a concept called malum in se, evil unto them itself. Yeah. So there are certain crimes we consider that almost they're universally applicable, even though everybody doesn't necessarily agree with them, like murder, rape, things like that are universally applicable because of the definition of the crime. It can be applied universally. So it doesn't matter if you agree with it or not. It doesn't matter.
Correct.
That those laws make sense to have. then after that, to criminalize behavior that is not evil unto itself, we have to be very careful that there is some type of greater benefit for having those type of rules and regulations. And I am a libertarian because with every rule and regulation does come the authority of a gun, right? Or a fist, right? Or law enforcement. Somebody could die because you violate some silly traffic ordinance because of you refuse to pay the fine like stupid sovereign citizens. Some of them, no, they're going to get
I'm a
killed
libertarian too. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's a matter of time. I'm a libertarian too. I tend to independent, but I officially voting registered as libertarian. But Wicked Wally says, in regards to number one, too broad of a statement that can lead to being openly permissible towards just about anything very quickly because we want to feel good. And I don't think it allows that at all. Just because we want to feel good does not mean that we're going to be doing something that is not in accordance with our own understanding of compassion and empathy. I mean, this is why we have to be tempered with reason. If we're doing something just for the fact that it feels good to us that might cause harm to other, then one, we're not being empathetic. Two, we're not being compassionate. Three, we're not acting with reason. So I don't think his argument against one is very persuasive. No offense, but at least he tried to justify it. I give him props for this. He answered the question. Thank you, Wicked Wally. I very much appreciate that, actually.
The reason prevents the slippery slope. So it's within using our reason. Like you're not going to give your last food to a starving dog. You're not going to feed your starving dog and deprive your starving child of food. Like
you have like to, for me, within reason.
Yeah, like for me, I would always argue, and I'm sorry if there's any vegans, but if my dog is starving and my kids are starving, one of those two are going to eat, and it's not going to be the dog.
And another thing is, dogs are not vegetarians. Dogs are carnivores. I mean, actually, it's technically could be omnivores, but I mean, they definitely need meat. Don't starve your dog of don't put dogs or cats on vegetarian diets. It doesn't work.
Oh yeah,
especially cats. I think cats especially, but neither one of them thrive on vegetarian diets. I think cats can't even live on a vegetarian diet, if I'm not mistaken. But number three, one's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. Now, this is the one that I'm a little bit iffy on. I believe that your body is inviolable. You have the ability to do pretty much what you want with the body, but there are some instances where if you have mental conditions that say, oh, look, I want to remove my body parts, just like that, there's a problem. And I think that it needs to be addressed, that you can't just have so much freedom and freedom, bodily autonomy of your own volition to do things that cause self-harm. So even though it's viable, subject to your own will alone, and so long as it doesn't do harm to you, and where that line is, the demarcation line of what causes harm, that's iffy. Because if you want to tattoo your entire body, knock yourself out. But are you all tatted up?
Yeah, I have a lot of tattoos. Yeah,
I don't have any. But I mean, you have a freedom to do it, right?
Yeah. But I'm a sound mind. I would say it's non-consensual harm. So I think you should have the freedom to cause harm to yourself. But some people, so will requires that you are of sound mind, that you are a rational moral agent. And if you are not of sound mind and you're not a rational moral agent, then you don't have will. So one's body is inviolable. Yeah, so I think even with this, you can make an argument that this isn't like the slippery slope where somebody could self-terminate themselves just because they want to, because they have a mental illness. I don't think we should allow somebody to do that. I think we should violate their body to prevent them from some types of self-harm. I think that goes back to one, because I have compassion, empathy, and I recognize when people could have some type of mental ailment, either permanent or temporary, that's causing them to cause self-harm to themselves. And I have a duty to intervene. The other problem with that, children can't always make informed consent decisions. Sometimes I have to violate the will of a child to vaccinate them, to
I
force
assume
them to
this is
go to
adult though.
school.
Would you're gonna
Sure,
because this is a tenet for the Satanic Temple
even
and it's for
adults.
adults. I would say it's for adults.
Sure,
But if somebody
even
points
for
out, if you
adults.
good, good.
Well, even for adults, there's some cases like when people are too old to make rational decisions for themselves. Sometimes you got to intervene to help them because other people will take advantage of them. There's all types of situations that we understand under the law. Not to say the law is the moral thing, but I think the law has sort of figured out where the line is for when somebody can consent to an act and when somebody else can intervene. And I think we do a pretty good job, at least under Western culture, of when we can intervene.
No, I'm agreeing with that. Now, somebody had pointed out that Jenny says, disagree. As someone with chronic pain, we should have the choice what we put in our bodies when it's time to go. And I agree with her on that. I do believe in euthanasia, and I do believe that if you're in chronic pain, you should have the right to be medically, terminated. But there's a huge thing that goes along with that. Like, do you remember just recently? It wasn't that long ago where a woman in the UK claimed to have fibromyalgia or something like that, chronic pain. Or chronic fatigue. That's what she had. She had chronic fatigue. And they allowed her to self-terminate. And that's one of those things like, really, is that something that's in chronic pain to have chronic fatigue, which may not even be a real thing? It's kind of a,
well, she couldn't, but she had devolved so far. I read that story too, but there were problems
I didn't read
with
the
that
details,
where she was. So. Yeah, there were details. So I think that was appropriate. And to go to Jenny's, if you're suffering from chronic pain where you can't live a life well lived, I think that resorting to self-termination in those cases is appropriate. But when I'm talking about where people are mentally capable, like there are disorders, psychological disorders that make somebody unable to give informed consent to even self-terminate. Terminal pain where you can't ever overcome the pain. Now, if it's just a temporary pain, like you get a bullet wound and you're going to recover from them, but you just want them to put you out of your misery, but you're in temporary pain, and so you're going to suffer. Some people can suffer what's called temporary insanity, where they're not making informed decisions because of that suffering they're experiencing right now. You're not going to do that. You're going to relieve their pain, which we can do that with medication. And I fully endorse morphine or whatever drugs we need to use, if it's marijuana, whatever it is, if it's holding somebody's hand.
I don't have a good threshold for pain. I don't have a good threshold for pain.
I do.
Yeah, somebody had asked, what kind of sailor doesn't have tattoos? Yeah, never got one.
I'm a sailor too.
Number 4, you were an E6, right? If I remember.
Yeah,
OS. Yeah, were you frocked 06? Were you actually paid for it?
E6.
Yeah, but were you frocked E6? Were you? No,
yeah,
I know.
I was in E6 for 5 years.
Oh, see, I was 6 months, and so I didn't get a paycheck. It doesn't start like 6 months afterwards. So my had I got out like a month later, then I would have got paid for it. But
yeah, I was. They made me. I was sailor a quarter all the time, sailor the year a couple times. I went up for E7
I thought you were
3
OS.
times.
What was your rate?
I was AT.
Oh, you're an AT. That's right. Okay, AT. Yeah.
AT1.
Okay. All right. So number 4. Well, this one's yours. Yeah.
Oh, number 4. Tenet number 4. The Satanic Temple. The freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forgo one's own. Ooh, I have some issues with that. Repeat, tenet number 4. The freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forgo one's own. And 1 if you agree, 2 if you disagree.
Yeah, let's hear your issues with that, because the stands, I mean, I would have to go with 1, because when we're talking about the freedom to offend, it's merely like, for example, should we have images of, that mock blasphemous things, images of Jesus or of Muhammad or whatever that would be offensive to the believers of that particular religion, yeah, you have the freedom to do that. In some countries, they can put you to death, if you do that. And I think that is in America, you have the right to offend, and people can either not watch it or not see it. And then if they don't want to take, offense, they don't have to take offense. It's up to them if they take offense or not. People offense is something that we think to ourselves, hey, look, I'm offended by this, but they have a right to do it. And so that's what I think that number 4 is saying, that it is a right to be able to at least express yourself, which may cause offense to somebody else. And when you start interfering with somebody else's freedoms, then you're foregoing your own freedom, because they could be just as much encroaching upon your freedom.
Yeah, I think it is time and place appropriate. So it's not always the case that you have the right to offend other people. You can't go into somebody's home and offend them. In some cases, it turns into harassment, which I believe is criminal. I believe it is
but that's not
immoral
what these
to
are saying. This is not harassment. This is I think you're reading too much into it, because it's just the ability to offend. Yeah, I don't. It's never a freedom to go into somebody's property. That's not a freedom, right? So it's not suggesting that you have the freedom to go into somebody else's property and then offend them. I think it's just saying, look, I have a freedom to say things and make imagery that might offend somebody. That's what it's saying. It's not implying that you have a right to offend it, to break the law or to harass or encroach upon somebody else's freedoms. That's what it's saying. It literally says in there, you can't encroach upon somebody else's freedoms. You can't go into their domicile. That's encroaching on their freedom.
Yeah, so let's draw that out. Let's say you want to protest Islam, right? And so you create depictions of Muhammad, which they are offended by for some reason. But let's say they make graphic images of Muhammad with Jesus, and they go out in front of the mosque and they hold these signs up, and they put them in the faces of people coming in and out of the building. I think it gets to the point where, and I actually have no problem with that. So the problem to me would arise when somebody's sort of a captive audience and they can't leave. And I think that would be like in a workplace. I think
I
would
agree
be
with that. Yeah,
a line that you can't draw.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page there. All right, number
public
5.
Places, public forums, time and place appropriate is where I would say it would be.
It's time, place, and manner. Yep.
Yeah, time, place, and manner.
Number 5. Beliefs should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. One should take care never to distort scientific facts to fit one's beliefs. I'll read it again. Beliefs should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. One should take care never to distort scientific facts to fit one's beliefs. So here's the issue I have with this one. This is the only one I really do have an issue with. It's only the first half. I do agree that one should never distort scientific facts to fit your beliefs. Absolutely. That's what creationists do, flat earthers do. But the problem when you say that one belief should conform to the one's best scientific understanding of the world seems to be very much talking more about scientism, and that there are philosophical things that could come into play where you have beliefs that science doesn't address. And even if it did, there could be reasons to doubt science in some cases on non-confirmed models, right? And so do I think that your beliefs should conform to the best scientific understanding of the world when doing science? Yes. But once you go into other domains of philosophy, you actually want to think outside the box. You don't want to think like a scientist as a philosopher, because you're talking about the philosophy of science. For example, when you talk about scientific realism versus scientific instrumentalism versus scientific anti-realism, to the scientists, they don't care. They generally, if they can ascribe to scientific realism, but to them, all that matters is scientific instrumentalism. It works. But to the philosopher, it's fundamental about the actual nature of reality. Is these things something that actually exist? Is these theories really not just merely explaining reality, but is the way reality actually is? That is actually outside the purview of science. There is no scientific understanding of that, because it's not science, it's philosophy. So I think you have to be a little more restrictive in this particular tenet, that beliefs should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world in science, or beliefs should conform to one's best scientific or epistemic understanding of the world. Something along those lines. It needs more qualifications, I think. What do you think?
I used to be part of some worldwide atheist group on Facebook. We had like 15,000 members in our group also. But my brother used to always argue with me too. He thought we could create a worldview based on scientism. Like, how could you ever do that? Even accepting these tenets as being true, you can't use science to accept these tenets, have a belief for these tenets.
It would be a worldview. Scientism is a worldview if you accept it, but
it is.
Well, if you accept worldviews, but I mean, I know very few people that adhere to scientism. Aaron Ra is like the very few I know.
He's actually going to be on Matters Now on March 25th. He's coming on Matters Now.
Good luck. Don't mention my name.
I won't.
He won't come back.
Hey, Aaron.
If you actually after the show, then tell him hi.
Okay.
Yeah, after the show, let him know. No, I'm serious. I'm actually straight up. Look, after the show, because then you'll be done. Let him know. I do say hi to him, and I wish him the best. And I talk about Satanism frequently, which he's a member of. And you don't have to get any detail. Just give him my best regard and go from there. Because again, he might not. No, he's pretty punctual.
Well, I might not show up. It's Justin's show, but I'll probably show up just because I want to say hi again because I went to lunch with them.
Oh, I thought it was on your show.
It's on Matters Now, but Justin runs his own. Justin, the one of the moderators from a Modern Day Debate. So we got 4 different hosts on Matters Now. It's like I'm the CEO of the Matters Now, I guess if you want to call it that. And then I got partners. So there's 4 of us running shows, and Justin runs the show. Yeah. I love my channel. I love having a team of people working together now I don't want the same issues you did, so we need to get down on paper how we're going to have it organized, and we still haven't done that yet.
Well, let me tell you, brother. Let me tell you.
My head.
Even with a piece of paper, it don't mean squat.
Especially in California.
I didn't have a piece of paper, and I still won. I still won my channel and a judgment. So having a piece of paper wouldn't have made a difference in my case, and nor would have made it anything. Like I said, when people here's the best advice I can give you: dishonest people are going to screw you over, and nothing you can do can stop them from at least making that attempt. Nothing. You can try to hedge it the best you can, but in the thing that we are in the sphere that we are on YouTube, we deal with very dishonest people, and this is why I try to associate with the honest ones.
I'm at 55% ownership, so
cool.
That's Anyways,
well, I enjoy my time on your channel.
I love the people there. But I would say, like, I sort of agree with you to a point. Like we have disagreements on identity a little bit. I think, like, I don't know if we actually disagree. I just like when it comes to sex and gender and stuff like that. Like, I think sex is like. I think there's a social definition for what sex is, and we call it gender in common parlance. And I think identity is all unique. So, but that's informed by my philosophy, not by science. So I have a lot of beliefs that are not informed by science. And to reduce everything to just like science, I don't think is. Now, in the domain of science, I accept a claim like this is true in biology. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think sex is great. I just want to try it with a partner once. Kidding.
Well, I put in my 25 month, like I've been a member of the Modern Day Debate for 25 months, and in there I put my dating profile: likes pepperoni pizza with jalapenos and single. And they didn't read it. I was like so disappointed.
Oh man. Well, honestly, one of the reasons I did this tonight, I was supposed to have an online date with a friend of mine that I've known for quite some time, but she couldn't make it tonight. So I was like, okay, I'll do this instead. We're planning for Monday, but whatever. But okay. Oh, you yeah. You're she has things you don't. Looking at her. Oh. She's pretty. Yeah, she's pretty. I'm attracted to attractive women. I don't know. I may be old, but I'm not blind.
I'm attracted to feminine. Like I'm an old dude, I guess now. But whatever.
Yeah, we're getting up there. All right, number 6. We're on.
My turn. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, number 6. People are fallible. Speak for yourself. I'm Jesus. People are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do one's best to rectify it and resolve any harm that might have been caused. Number 6, people are,
Good.
people are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do one's best to rectify it and resolve any harm that might have been caused.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with it, but again, it's easier said than done sometimes. You know, I have a rule. I don't apologize to anyone unless I've actually done something wrong. And if I actually done something wrong and I believe it, then I will apologize profusely. Because if you start apologizing for things that you that you didn't do wrong, then your apology means nothing. The very few times I've apologized, I'll tell you, I'll be honest, I'll be straight with you, dude. James from Modern Day Debate, I apologized to him on something. He pointed something out, and I was like, "Shit, you were right, dude. I'm wrong on this. I am very wrong on this, and I apologize profusely to you." And he accepted it. And this was a very, very long time ago, and it's completely water on the bridge. But I recognized that I was wrong on it, right? And so when I apologize to somebody like, and this was before his channel was even large. I mean, he just started it. But I recognized that, you know, I was in the wrong. And so if I was apologized to every Tom, Dick, and Harry that comes around and thinks that I've offended them or something like that, it means nothing. It meant something to him because he knows how rarely I do apologize. Right. So I don't think that you should just go around, you know, anytime you think somebody's gone harm. But if you do make a mistake, don't make it again. But sometimes it's not always easy to rectify it or to resolve any harm. I think it's nice in theory, but it is idealistic. But I'm not against this particular tenet. I think it's nice, but how practical, I don't know.
I view it as like, if you're negligent, that you should be responsible for your acts. But I mean, we have courts for that. Like if you have an accident or you do something intentionally, I don't know. It depends. Like it's fact specific and it depends on the circumstances. A lot of people feel harmed or wronged by something you do. That doesn't mean you did it intentionally. Then, so like if I make a mistake, I did this the other day and I offended one of my team members. Like it was, but I had a vision and I'm following my vision for the channel, and they weren't included in my description because they weren't part of that. They were not doing one of the things that I wanted as part of the promotion. So I didn't include them. So they felt left out, but then they were going to do the thing. So then I included them in one part of it, but I forgot to go back and update the other thing. So they thought that they got all offended. It's like, oh, that's a mistake. I'm going to go fix that. And when it fixed it, and they wanted an apology, like a profuse apology. It's like, what are you talking? I did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong.
Exactly. Don't. And this is why I got bothered on Twitter when people are like feign outrage, or, you know, they think they want to have empowerment. And so they're like, oh, I want an apology to feel empowered. And that's not the reason to give somebody an apology. And it's not a reason to want an apology. Apologies to be given when you actually sincerely done something wrong. And I see it all the time when people expect an apology for something that merely because you offended them. I don't give a crap that I offended you if I did nothing wrong. I don't care. Just like if I get offended, you shouldn't give a damn that I'm offended if you've done nothing wrong. There's many things that will offend me, right? I mean, everybody has things they take offense to. But you know what I do? I just ignore them. I don't bother with them. I don't go, oh, you don't have a right to say that or anything like that. Or you touched on my sensibilities and hurt me emotionally. You know, so what? So what? I mean, the only people that owe me an apology are the people that have actually done harm, and willfully so. And there are numerous ones out there, don't get me wrong, but they'll never do it, and nor will I accept it. So what good is apologizing to somebody who's not going to accept it anyways? Because there are certain things that are just so unforgivable that you should never accept an apology for. And like I said, Jesus forgives, I don't. Right?
I'll forgive some things if it's unintentional, but if it's intentional and like
intentional
and
matters.
it's
Intentionality
egregious. Matters. Yeah, egregious too. Like not some like normal like slight.
Yeah, I mean, somebody wipes out your entire family. Yeah, I don't think you should forgive them. You know?
Yeah. So it depends.
Yeah. All right, last one. We got about 20 more minutes at most. Number 7. Every tenet is a guiding principle. Every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. This sounds like virtue ethics, huh? Every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. And this, let me run this by you. Do you think this is antithetical to Christianity? Because Christianity seems to place the written and spoken word, Jesus, over anything else, while myself would place action and thought over any written or spoken word. To me, as a human, it means more to be compassionate and wise and just to people and to treat people well than it does to base something that they believe is their interpretation of what they've read in a book that man wrote. Whether you believe it's inspired of God or not, man wrote the Bible. It was by the hand of man, whether you believe it's inspired or not. God did not directly write the Bible. They can say, well, it's his words, and they just copied his words and whatever. But the fact is somebody took a pen or chisel or whatever it was, and they wrote it down, and they were human. So, yeah, I like this one. I really think that this is really probably my favorite of all of them, because this is virtue ethics. This is what it's like to be honorable and ethical and inspire nobility in both thought and deed, which is rare nowadays because people are so narcissistic and egotistic and worse than anything in their entitlement. It's beyond measure. And we're seeing it more and more. And I think this bill, the House Bill 0514, is the quintessential legal type of entitlement that they feel that they should be able to violate the Constitution merely because of a particular belief system.
Hopefully it gets struck down. Hopefully it goes to SCOTUS and they strike it down.
Well, it has to get approved before it goes to SCOTUS. Yeah. I don't know when they vote on this. I have no idea. Does anybody know when they vote on this? Because it was in the
but to have affirmation, from a conservative court would be very good. Well, I would say compassion comes from wisdom and justice. But I understand what they're saying.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This was in the 2024 general session. And the people that are voting for it are Republican Kevin Stratton, and sponsored by John Johnson, co-sponsored by Birkeland, Brooks, Christopherson, Ivory, Johnson, Lisenby, Malloy, Peterson, and Shipp. I don't know any of them. But yeah, all those people that sponsor this. I have listened to Kevin Stratton. He's ridiculous. I mean, he literally is trying to say, hey, let's find a way to get this bill passed that excludes Satanism. That's what they were trying to do. Matter of fact, I don't remember the Senate. I think maybe it was Birkeland, but one of them, the female senator, was basically saying, or she could have been representative, but somebody in Congress was basically saying, hey, can we word this in a way where it excludes Satanism because it's offensive to us Christians? I mean, she was pretty blatant about that. And I think that might have been what helped pen this letter. I don't know if it was before or after, but yeah, that you can't do. That's ridiculous. But I don't know when this goes to a vote. So let me see if I can find out.
You read this when Senator Juan Mendez of Tempe introduced members and ministers of the Satanic Temple of Arizona, every single Senate Republican quickly exited the floor.
Is that sad? Because there was a representative there, and I listened to her. She wasn't on camera, but she was audio only, and she said, I'm from the Satanic Temple. I'm a certified chaplain or whatever, I represent this, and I look forward to teaching your children about Christianity. I don't know if that was the same day, but there's a video and a lot of them are not having that. And I'm like, no big deal. Teach the kids about Satanism. Who gives you? I don't care. I'm all for it. Actually, if you're going to allow Christianity, teach them about Satanism. I think you got to have both. You got to. I'm sorry, you cannot have one without the other. If you allow one, you got to teach them about whatever. Or at least have the opportunity to. If you have a chaplain for one denomination, it's going to open the door to having many different chaplains. Or at least
can you tell me, go ahead. Navy core values, dude? Honor, courage, commitment, right? They didn't stand up for any of them. Mm-mm. They didn't stand up for their oath.
Nope.
they didn't have the courage to stand up to friggin' some Church of Satan person. They didn't have a commitment to their job.
Isn't it sad?
They're cowards.
I mean, you in the military, I don't know if you ever went to a chaplain. I don't know if you're religious when you were
They would come to me sometimes.
Okay.
I've been atheist since I was 5. Since a Catholic priest told me I was atheist.
Okay. And atheism is now well respected in the military. You can be an atheist. Here's the thing. I went to church on Sundays. I don't know if you remember this far back, but at boot camp, you had basically 2 choices on a Sunday. You can go to church or you can do field day stuff and clean the barracks. So, yeah. So
I was in Orlando.
Kind of, so was I.
Oh, okay.
I went to boot camp in Orlando.
93.
Yeah, 1987. It got dismantled in 95 or 97 or something.
A couple of years later, yeah.
Yeah, I went to boot camp I went to Orlando, Florida in 1997. Graduated from boot camp there, and then I went to A school down there. Then I went to nuke school down there, and then I went to prototype in Windsor Locks, Connecticut.
I went to Millington.
Do they still have that hotel that everybody goes down? There's a hotel in Orlando that everybody went to, and I don't remember the name. And on base, did they still? What's that?
I was a nerd, dude. I think I went to the Disney stuff and then bought a book and read it.
You didn't go to the on base club where you could drink on base so it worked this way. If you could drink on base if you're in the military, regardless of your age, 17, 18, 19 didn't matter, but you can only have hard liquor if you're 21. I don't know why they did.
No, that was gone. That was removed when I joined.
You didn't have that? Oh, see, we had that. We could go to the club and drink beer. Yeah.
I remember they had a vending machine with beer in it, but they took the beer out. So.
Oh man, yeah, times are changing. Did they have the big swimming pool with the big heaters? Because you have to learn you have to swim. You have to show your proficiency for swimming. Do you remember going swimming?
I did swim in the pools there. Yes, I had to learn I had to tread water for 3 minutes.
Yeah,
I think it was, and do a lap of the pool. Or...
Your pants, you have to tie the pants and use them as
it's a flotation device.
Flotation device. But what month did you go? Because I went in October, November, December, and let me tell you, it was freaking cold in Florida in October, November, December. Especially in December, it was cold. And I was down there in January, February too, but at boot camp in December sucked, dude. Don't recommend it.
But... I went in July, June, July, August.
You had it made
July, August.
Although it's probably hot and humid.
We had the storms, the lightning storms, so we had to go inside all the time.
Did you have to run the 5-mile grinder in boots?
We had to run. Our sister company was a dive SARS friggin' company. So
I loved my
people
company.
wanted to be SEALs and stuff like that.
There was this like one girl that was super cute, but after you got out of boot camp, you didn't hook up with anybody in your sister company after boot camp?
No, our sister company, like I said, was a SARS. There were SARS buds and dive. They were dudes.
Buds?
Our sister company was guys.
No,
yeah, so we didn't have a female sister company.
Oh,
so
you guys!
We're all nukes.
Man.
Half our company are going to be nukes, or aviation. Yeah, and then we had this guy with an 18 AFQT score, an 18 AFQT.
Dude, how do you get in with an 18? The minimum's cut off. I thought it was 35 or something. 18 means you're breathing.
He was from Alabama and he had those big, huge, giant ears, like the stereotype, inbred.
How did he get an 18? That's like putting your name on it. I scored a 99 AFQT. I had a perfect ASVAB score.
Yeah, me too.
My recruiter has only it's how rare it is. Yeah. It's rare.
Well, 99 percentile.
Yeah, it means that you're in the top 1%. You can't score anything higher. 99 is perfect.
Yeah,
that's rare. My recruiter has only ever seen one. The only other person I've met, you and 2 other people that had 99 AFQT. The highest I saw in the military while I was in that I remember was a 98. But 99, but let's be real. The ASVAB, I
don't think I met anybody else except you. It's not many people. Well, it's not many people.
Yeah, but nukes, nukes are generally the upper of the echelon of the academics.
I couldn't
Navy,
become
right?
a nuke. I couldn't become a nuke because I had a criminal record and I had a warrant out for my arrest, and I only had a 9th grade education.
Be
So I
grateful.
only
You would have
completed the
made
9th
it.
grade.
I think you probably would have passed and
I
everything
would have
like
made
that. It would have been challenging, but you be glad that you didn't. It's hard, dude. I mean,
I was an
it's
AT.
no joke.
I,
Yeah, well,
I
that's what I'm
went to
saying. If you'd have been,
ABC1
yeah,
school. I was
that's
top
what
of
I'm
my
saying.
classes.
I'm not.
Like
That's what I'm saying. You would have
I
passed,
would
but
have passed.
nuke school is way harder than A school. Way, 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 way harder. I mean, it's
I
not
would
so
have
much
passed.
even the technical aspect. It's you're putting in 35 extra hours on top of your normal school. So basically, you're getting up every morning at 5 a.m. and you're leaving the school at midnight, and you do this 5 days a week. It's demanding. You don't get a lot of sleep.
Yeah,
and I think that's the most challenging. But anyways,
I challenged my courses and got done 2 months early.
Did you?
In A school? Yeah, they let me accelerated
You
program.
had you took BWE and you had basic electronics and electrical theory.
They didn't call it BWE anymore, but yeah, we basically took all the basic electronics or electrical theory.
I took all that, and that was, I think, was the easiest for me because I had a little bit of history in electronics. So I was like, this is cakewalk.
I know what MOSFET meant.
Yeah, metal oxide field effect transistor.
No, metal oxide semiconductor field effect.
Semiconductor field effect transistor. Yeah. I know these things. I know what a MOSFET. I know what a JFET. I know what a TTL. I know what a CMOS, transistor logic, CMOS, complementary metal oxide.
Did you guys have to do a mule haul, or were you an ET or you were an MM? Okay.
I was a machinist. Yeah. But we have to cross train. Everybody in the nuke field cross trains everything else. So even though you don't have to have extreme depth in electronics, you still have to take electronics. You have to understand how circuit breakers work, what the EMs do. You have to understand 3-phase, which is single phase, and how the SSMG, the SSTG, all these things work. Even though you don't actually work on them, you have to know the buses. You have to know where the circuit breakers. Because I know we're getting off topic, guys, and I'm sorry, but hey, that's not a NonSequitur show. We do that, but who cares? We're having fun. But when you my first supervisor position was S1C, which is a submarine first generation combustion engineering, which was a submarine corps, even though I was on LAM. You have to know all the different circuit breakers because they control things like the electronic valves. And so as a nuke, you're in charge of that reactor, and steam demand is what controls reactor power. And so anything that affects steam demand, you have, as an interim supervisor, responsibility for. And so you have to know if this valve is not working right, which circuit breaker tripped it, and then you have to get the EM to go fix it, right? So as the engineering watch supervisor or the interim supervisor, you have to know a lot of stuff. You don't have to actually know how. You don't have to physically know how to work the circuit breaker, but you have to know which one does what. Does that make sense?
Right.
Which I brain dumped on.
That was my biggest problem with transitioning to the civilian world, because I didn't know 3-phase as an AT, or because it was all electronic.
Delta wirings.
Delta, yeah.
And how do you know Y wiring? Yeah, Y.
I don't know. Yeah, but we had to learn Delta Y for power supplies and stuff as an AT. But it was maybe like 1 or 2 questions on the exam. So I just knew enough at how to convert from Delta to Y and from Y to Delta. Yeah. I would just remember, look at the image, okay, this is how we do it.
What's Kirchhoff's current law?
The sum of all, the current is the same in the circuit. The sum of all branches is equal to the circuit current.
Yeah, the sum of all currents in a junction is equal to the sum of all currents exiting the junction.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's a simple way of putting it. But
the voltage law, sum of all voltage drops is equal to the source voltage.
Kirchhoff's voltage law. See, this is what I'm talking about. And people that have been in the military, we knew these things, but this was what we did.
12.36 microseconds. Do you know what that is?
Oh no! Is that going to be something along
the
delay? Is that
ET should? Well, wait, you weren't. You didn't do. You were nuke, so you wouldn't. It
sounds like a delay of some kind.
It's a radar range mile, so it's 12.36 microseconds to send a radar signal.
Oh, and get it back.
A nautical mile and get it back. So it's
Okay, because
6.18.
You had your dolphins, right? Or did you were surface?
I was surface. I was
yes.
carrier. I was AT.
Did you have ESWAS?
Oh no, it's EAW.
EAW. Okay, yeah, you're because your aviation was a little bit different. So I have the ESWAS, enlisted surface warfare specialist, and we had to learn about the 55 Bravo radar. We had to learn about the Mark 114.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, but I brain dumped all that, dude. Yeah, I brain dumped that.
Well, because it wasn't your rating.
Right. You literally
just had to know
memorize it.
Stupid.
That's all I remember it for. When they ask, hey, what's the range? We had SM1s, SM2s, Harpoon. We had a 5-inch gun, and then we had 2 phalanx systems. Those are basically
Somebody asked me in my last debate against Caleb about flat Earth. Somebody said a super chat trying to say like dolphins communicating thousands of miles proves the Earth is flat. And I knew sonar, dude. Like you're sending the wrong super chat to the wrong person, dude, because I remember studying sonar from the Navy. It's like, and I answered the question.
We did have to learn about the because again, cavitation has to do a lot with nuclear reactors, believe it or not. So we had to learn about the cavitation of the screw going to the propeller, such that individual ships, when they cavitate, that gives the actual ship not just the type of ship. It can act. There's a profile for cavitation for the signature. So these submarines can actually detect ships and know exactly what ship it is just by the cavitation signature. And all cavitation means but for the audience, cavitation is a low pressure area that forms around the propeller or the screw, and that causes bubbles. It causes the water to bubble, and that literally is a very specific noise that it makes. And the sonar's tech, like him,
you want to remove that to make them silent. So.
Correct. You don't want to be cavitating. So as somebody, like I said, when you're an interim supervisor, though, and you're in charge of the reactor that has the steam demand that goes to the turbine, that goes to the reduction gears, that goes to the propeller, the screw shaft, and then to the propeller, you have to be cognizant of all this stuff. You don't want rumbling. You have any abnormal noises. You got to be aware of this stuff, and especially what pressure, temperature, depth you're at for a sub. But anyways, this was great, man. I got to wrap it up because it is 2 hours, and I don't go longer than that. But I want to thank you for coming on, Ozian, and awesome job with your channel. I'm glad that we're able to share stuff. I got you as a link, you got me as a link, and let's do it. I'll send people your way.
Yeah,
sound good? All right, guys.
I
thanks
need
for
to do
watching.
more debates too.
Yeah, I got people lined up. I got a pre-supper coming on. And then I got some other people that it's just a matter of scheduling is the most difficult part. Getting guests is difficult, but scheduling, I hate it.
I'm trying. I'm supposed to have Howard Stirrup debating the deer, Ahmed, on if basically Howard's a flat earther, but he won't. He's a globe skeptic. He's one of those people. He thinks the Quran supports level, enclosed, 7-dimensional Earth. I don't know if you know Howard Stirrup, but yeah,
I don't think I want to.
There.
Yeah, whenever
Matt walked off stage.
Whenever the flat earthers get into the whole religious aspect of the Bible or the Quran, I turn off. There's the same thing with Red's rhetoric. Reds does not want to deal with people using scripture to back up their BS flat earth beliefs. I don't blame him because he's not into any of that scripture stuff. Neither am I. We want to see the science, right? And they don't have that. So,
well, that's the only way you deconstruct their beliefs is you have to get to the root of their beliefs. I think I'd rather discuss.
They're dishonest, though. I think they're dishonest. I don't think they actually believe what they believe. At least not most of the majority of them. I think they just lie. I don't know. And even if that's not the case, and you're right. But I don't have neither is Reds. We don't have the skill set to get into the religious aspect of it. We don't know their scriptures. Yeah, leave that for you guys. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and end this. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Ozian. Thanks, guys, for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed to the channel. It really helps. Leave a comment on the video as well. That really helps. And we'll see you next time on Non-Sequitur Show After Dark.